Hello, I'm a skeleton. And before I start with the review, I've got something I want to say about the video game industry. The video game industry is a load of shit these days. I remember the good old days when you could buy a game and then play the game. It was pure, it was simple, it was some of the best times of my life. These days you can't buy the newest, hottest game without there being a bunch of irritating and manipulative bullshit attached to it. Why would a company like EA settle for some of your money when they could have all of it? You still have outliers like Capcom, who have lately been releasing some great games without too much bullshit in them, just a little bit of bullshit. And Nintendo, who, like always, stay in their own bubble of game making, largely untouched by the habits of the industry. That doesn't change the fact that video games are in a toxic place right now. Some people just want to play a good game that leaves them feeling satisfied and fulfilled. Well, what if I told you that there is a treasure trove of cheap and excellent games hiding under the surface of the industry? The games made by small teams or lone developers that often go largely unnoticed on Steam. There is no justice in this world, I tell you. Hard work should never go unrewarded. That's why in this series of videos, I'll be bringing you some of the hidden gems on Steam that I've managed to dig up over the years. Starting with the game that inspired me to start this show, Rex Rocket. A surprisingly solid first release by Castle Pixel back in 2014. I'd describe Rex Rocket as a Metroidvania with a much heavier emphasis on platforming and combat rather than exploring. Fight your way through the ship, collect lots of power-ups, kill lots of enemies, and fill your ear holes with lots of kick-ass music. Like seriously amazing music. But first, the plot. Rex Rocket is on a mission to escort a science crew along with a cargo of slime creatures to terraform the planet of New Detroit in order to make it habitable by humans. While in cryosleep, the ship's AI, Lauren, which is such an absurd acronym that I refuse to recite it here, goes haywire, causing both the ship's robot servants and the terra-oozling cargo to start running amok. After accepting a pew-pew from a guard, it's your duty to quell the rapidly multiplying tide of slimes and to stop Lauren from destroying your ship. Which isn't going to be easy because, frankly, this game is a real nutbuster.
Real nutbuster.
Better work out the kinks in that thumb, because Rex Rocket is very spam heavy when it comes to combat. Some of these rooms are positively swarming with enemies that can respawn from the floor, drop from the ceiling, or leave even more enemies to deal with when destroyed. Be on your toes, because some enemies will send a projectile your way the instant you enter their line of sight. Like dem green skeletons. Oof. A tip from me to you. When you're just starting out, steer clear of heavily populated areas that aren't on the way to your destination. Be patient and return after you've collected some health and ammo pods, which are quite abundant. There are many secrets in this game, many of which drive some peeps insane. For example, there are hologram walls that lead to a plethora of power-ups to help you pulverize the precocious prats.
Pulverize the precocious prats?
Fuck you, don't judge me. And if you're, fortunate enough to find yourself at one of the optional super challenges that end with a special upgrade, I leave you with these words spoken from the heart. I got these stupid shoes once. I'm not doing it again. Fuck these shoes. This ascending tower of spike walls can suck a big one too. Once you've conquered a level of the ship, prepare for a boss fight that's both kick-ass and kick your ass. The kind of boss fight that unless you have surgeon-like focus and precision, you'll likely have to throw yourself at it a few times to learn the patterns. I like the balancing act between spamming your shots like a madman to pile on the damage, and staying composed enough to stay alive. I also appreciate how some of these fights have a little more going on than just dealing damage. One fight has a healing mechanic that took me a few tries to realize what was going on. And another fight has a unique interaction with grenades, if you can figure out how to use them right. Every boss ends with an upgrade of some sort. Some really good, like the charge shot that boosts you into the air when shot at the ground. And some not so good. I could never find a practical use for the radial sub-weapon. Time for my favorite part of the review. I've really been looking forward to talking about this. If a game is good, then I'll have a good time with it, and then I'll put it away. But if a game has an amazing soundtrack, then I'll remember it fondly forever. The soundtrack, composed by an awesome guy named Sasquatch, is legit one of my favorite soundtracks in a video game. If some of these bosses don't blow your balls off, then the individual theme songs will. The theme song for the first boss is so grungy and Genesis that I can't help but bob my head to the beat. And I like how the Enforcer Bot's theme is all like, go, go, go! The Barracks, Area 3. This is the track that makes my jaw drop in awe. You think the reward for beating a boss is a new weapon? Nah, man. The real reward is getting to the next area and hearing the next track. If you're not interested in the game, then at the very least, you owe it to yourself to check out Sasquatch's Bandcamp page and check out his work. Maybe throw him a few bucks for the soundtrack to Rex Rocket while you're at it. I'll leave a link in the description. Now that I've spent some time gushing, it's time to cover some faults. To Castle Pixel, should you ever be interested in a Rex Rocket Deluxe re-release, then please consider the following. Every time I died on the teleport bot, the boss fight music would keep going. The transitions between zones could use some smoothing out. The text that displays at the start of every boss fight should either be skippable with start or only show upon your first entry. It gets old going through these messages considering how many tries some of these fights take. Lives are mostly pointless, since getting a game over just starts you off at the same checkpoint with 15 more lives. I think the game would benefit from just removing lives entirely. I can't believe this game originally sent you back to the start after a game over. That's brutal. As for temporary power-ups and life pickups, they are far too scarce to be useful. Come on, man. I want more chances to listen to that awesome invincibility theme. Speaking of, I once got a power-up that started playing its theme but didn't stop the level music. Gave me ear dyslexia. As far as major issues go, I really only have one. There were many occasions when I compulsively tried to use the right analog stick to view past the field of view. You know, to see what was coming up. But the game doesn't allow it. There are too many drops that feel unfair because of not being able to see what's down there. It's a staple feature in many other side-scrolling platformers, so its absence here kind of feels like a big oversight. These few issues do little to change my opinion of Rex Rocket. I find it to be an excellent game that, tragically, never got the appreciation it deserves. However, there is a happy ending. It was looking like Castle Pixel was going to have a similar situation when they released a game called Blossom Tale on Steam. But once they released it on the Switch, the amount of attention it got was much improved. I'm very pleased to see that hard work did pay off on this occasion. I really should try Blossom Tale sometime. So yeah, Rex Rocket. Awesome game that you can buy on Steam for a super cheap price. Unfortunately, it isn't available on consoles at the time of this review, but you know what it is available on? iOS. Yeah, I was surprised too. At the end of every video, I will be rating games on a scale of, is it better than The Witcher 3? So, is Rex Rocket better than The Witcher 3? No, it isn't. Maybe next time. I can't express how grateful I am for you choosing to view my content. If you're a person that appreciates a good hidden gem, then you're my kind of viewer. If you know of any other underappreciated gems on Steam, give me a heads up in the comments and I'll absolutely look into it. For now, I've got another game that reminds me a lot of Smash TV that I can't wait to talk about. See you then.